A woman's voice carries wisdom. It carries discernment. It carries healing. And sometimes it carries pain that has waited a long time to be released. Blessings. It's your girl, Yapah Judah. And this is Evolving with Yapah Judah. Welcome back to another episode where we are talking about a woman's voice. And I am here with my daughter Kendra, my niece Knowledge, my daughter-in-love Camille, and we are going to continue this conversation of a woman's voice. The next question is finding her voice. Was there a time in your life when you felt silenced by fear, expectation, culture, or even faith spaces?
Yes.
Okay. What helped you to speak again?
I feel, hi y'all, this is Kendra, by the way. I feel what made me find my voice and become more confident in my voice is after I had my children. It definitely gives you a different sense of empowerment when it comes to speaking out and advocating for your own children, especially when they're not able to for themselves. Because you got me messed up, you ain't finna mess with mine. That's how I feel literally about anything that has anything to do with them.
Right.
That's what helped me find my voice and also helped me to teach them and encourage them to find their own voice, because it's very important, because society can silence you about anything and make you feel like you have no voice because of the stereotypes that are in place already. So, for an example, healthcare. My daughter didn't want to get shots, didn't want to get vaccinated, which I understand 100%. And I encouraged her to advocate for herself to the doctor. So, like, speak up, say something. She said she's not comfortable with getting vaccinations. She's not comfortable with getting vaccinations. And as the doctor said, like, I don't think she's at the age to be able to speak on that. I said, well, I feel there's not a specific age where you're supposed to go ahead and advocate for yourself. I feel like at any age that when you start to become more understanding and more aware of the world and society and how it works, it's important to advocate for yourself. So I honestly feel like that's what gave me encouragement to go ahead and just speak up, like, because no one else is going to speak up for them like I can speak up for them.
Right.
You know, I think that's so important. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Especially as women, because the world now, what do they say? They see us as a birthing person, not an actual woman, not an actual human being. And even now, if I go into the hospital and say I'm having pain, it's like, okay, well, go see your primary care doctor. They can't do anything for you. You're like pretty much pushed aside. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
And yes, that's happening in society. You know, you have to go get a second opinion, a third opinion, maybe even times a fourth opinion until you're actually heard. That's why it's so important to be heard, because how are you going to understand what's going on if you're not listening and hearing me out?
Well, giving her the opportunity to not only speak up in front of you, but they're going to come in times where you're not around.
Exactly.
And she'll feel confident enough to speak up for herself, whether she got the crowd behind her mom behind her, or somebody, rooting her on. She knows, I can do this. I've done it before, and I'm comfortable with saying no.
Yeah.
Or saying I don't want to do this, and not feeling pressured to do anything, because you've given her that platform to feel confident in saying no.
And that is so important, because as anybody, but especially us women, this goes to the conversation we were talking about in the previous episode. Women are naturally intuitive. And if she has the intuition where I don't feel comfortable getting shots, well, if you would have just ignored her, you just silenced her intuition.
Exactly.
So that's very important, because now you're helping build her intuition.
That's a good point. Anyone else want to answer that question?
Yes. So at first I wrote, I've never felt silence because I've always been a vocal person. I've always been I speak my mind. I say what I want. I mean, so much so that my dad's always called me the lawyer of the family. Because if I'm not just advocating for myself, I'm advocating for my siblings. I treat them like they were my children. I mean, I as a child, I was vocal whether you were a kid or an adult. If I felt like it wasn't right, I said my piece on it. And I didn't tolerate anybody messing with anybody in my family. Like I knew I could handle a lot of things because I built up such a wall around myself. But like you couldn't touch or say anything to the Mother Chappelle.
Yes.
And I think that it got worse as I now have children, but worse in a good way.
Right.
Because like Kendra, you can't mess with mine. And
right.
I don't even put them in spaces of where if I felt uncomfortable ever, or if I feel like somebody don't mean them well, whatever the case may be,
right,
they will not be in that space.
Exactly.
Where growing up, my mom is very, she's one of those individuals who you can tell like that old school mindset of, well, just let it pass, or whatever the case may be, or a child should stay in a child's place. And so we would be in predicaments sometimes in spaces where people didn't want you to be there, or they would be rude. And that's what I mean when I say I've always spoke my piece. Yes. If somebody said something to my mama, it's like,
oh, wait.
and I'll take the whooping later.
Right.
Because what you not going to do,
Exactly. You're going to hear what I got to say right now.
Yeah. And so what I put was, I've never felt silence, but I've always felt chastised.
That's a perfect way to put that.
Because not just chastising like what I was saying, right, and how I felt, but even in a situation, and I'll give you an example. At my last job, I always say things like, people are like, "Oh, you did a great job on that project," and I'm like, "I did." And I remember another Black woman approached me and said to me, maybe it's okay for people to give you a compliment, and you don't have to give yourself a compliment. Like, you don't have to, like, you can wait for them to say you did a great job. But you don't have to say you did a great job. Because we see, the greatness. And my response to her was, but I wasn't waiting for you to see my greatness.
Exactly. Oh, exactly.
And I told her, I said, I've been bullied. I've been let down. I no longer wait for people to uplift me.
Exactly.
I do it for myself. And that's why I'm loud. I'm loud and proud. And I don't need and not in the loud of the stereotypical way that they try to make Black women feel. I'm loud in how I feel about myself. And I make sure that my kids understand who they are. So when I'm getting him ready, who are you? I'm smart. I'm kind. I'm knowledgeable. I'm a God-fearing man. And all of these different things, like I'm instilling that in them. They're going to be confident whether you believe that you can see their light or not. They see their own light. And that's something that's important to me. So if people want to chastise you, let them chastise you because they don't understand your greatness yet. And that's okay, because it wasn't for them to understand.
There you go. That's right.
Absolutely. I definitely want to add that I felt like been secretly or silently silenced in certain different areas of my life. Like I say, growing up, I had a very challenging, because now I see the things that I went through as a challenge, as for it built the person that I am today. But I was, silenced more so secretly as a child growing up. And not only that, I was in a marriage where it was either their way and I would silence myself or silence how I feel. So I basically neglected myself in order to please the crowd. And this has been my life like for a while, until I was made to actually walk down the road of isolation. And isolation, a lot of people it sounds negative, But it was very much so spiritual healing for me, because that's where I found myself. I found myself in that silence, and I was able to see that I needed to come out. I needed to express myself, because a lot of times I would not say anything at all just to keep the peace, not realizing that it was actually causing a war within myself. And so it wasn't until I started, and a lot of people won't admit it, you start to go through these things in life. You start to go through these, life will start to, I will say, disappoint you, whether it's in jobs, in friends, in family, in relationships, until you get the message that you need to step out and be the voice for yourself. And so that is what I finally realized after I had enough, that I was the one that was actually neglecting myself, rather than just coming out and speaking my truth or having others hear my voice, because I went through some things that could definitely help other young women, or even people older than me that have maybe experienced things that are still struggling. Yeah. So, I mean, and it took those lessons in order for me to be here now. But like I've always heard, the best teacher is experience. And I'm grateful for those experiences.
Amen to that.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I will add, I'm sorry, the fear aspect of it, of not finding your voice. I feel like a lot of the trauma comes from the childhood and just like growing from that. I always like didn't want to speak sometimes growing up out of fear of how is it going to be received. I always wanted to make friends. I always wanted to be like that nice people person, but had to flip it because it wasn't being received in that way. It was being received as, oh, you think you're better than me. Oh, you think you're all that. And so I had to flip it into this defensive, angry person to push people away so that I wouldn't continue to be, I feel like I was being attacked. I feel like I was being reprimanded in some way. Yeah. And so I feel like that fear turned me into a person I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
But ended up being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I let me tell you something. I completely agree with you in that aspect, because I was a people's person like that too. But it was instead of it being like, you think you're better than me, which I have experienced, it was more so people took advantage of it.
Yeah.
Which then that turned into aggression for me.
Right.
And I didn't realize it until it was pointed out to me that in a lot of things that I was doing, I had aggression. Like I was being aggressive. And really I was just hurt. Yeah. And I was just protecting myself because I didn't know any other way to do it.
Right.
Because I was tired of being hurt.
Fight or flight.
Yeah.
It's like fight or flight. So it's like you want it to be a different way, but it's like, okay, I have to be this way because it's not being received in the way that I want it to be.
Yeah.
So, but then you get, exactly, because the harm is you get stuck in that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do you come out of that?
Well, really, it's just people are misunderstanding you, right?
Right.
And so, like, as you get older, you just begin to start to surround yourself by people who are who want to understand you.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that you get so stuck in that aggression mode, like what we spoke about before, you start to push the right people away.
And then you don't even mean to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're like I said, you're stuck in that.
Yeah.
And it's not even like you're trying to be defensive. It's like a default now. Yeah. And you can't override it. It's like, so how do I override that default?
So I'll say to that, a lot of times we want to get out of certain positions or certain areas in life. Like, for example, that we want to get out of that, but sometimes we don't have the tools.
Yeah.
We don't know how to because we weren't taught to.
Right.
And so sometimes it takes us doing something different in order to see a change.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you're not necessarily talking with people, or one thing that I have found that has helped me tremendously is journaling. Journaling my emotions and literally letting it all out on pen and paper. And out of nowhere, the universe will bring it to you. Like, it will just bring certain people, and it could just be people that you may not even see again, but they'll bring you people in your midst to make you feel just really just appreciated in that moment.
And I would say, I think now I have started to see that. And it has calmed me down a lot.
Yeah.
Even my children see the difference.
Yeah.
My husband sees the difference. He's like, you're a way more peaceful person.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's because I'm trying to work on myself.
Yeah.
Trying to like release old trauma, old hurt, you know. Sorry, y'all.
No,
you should never apologize. Like, you should never apologize for that.
But I think it's important to find a way to like break out of those old habits, because that definitely does hinder you. And then it makes people think, oh, this person is just angry. I don't want to do with them.
Sometimes you have to get uncomfortable in order to get comfortable.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's one of the main things. I know we're on time. But you have to be uncomfortable to get comfortable.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've done, because I would get frustrated, and I'll have those nights where I'm always calling Mr. Control. I'm like, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Like, why is it happening like this? And one thing that I will say that I would pray to God, and I will always say, God, please don't take the good parts from me.
Yes.
Don't take the good parts.
That has been my prayer.
Because that's what makes my light shine so bright. Those are like, being so kind to others and being thoughtful and doing all those things. And though I feel hurt a lot of times, now when I go into it, because I'm going to stand firm in who I am, I go into it with no expectation.
As you said.
And that was the toughest lesson in all of that, was go into with no expectations from them.
Exactly.
You know what you're trying to do and what you're going and what you're trying to accomplish. Focus on that. And then move on.
Yeah.
And if they're for you, they're for you.
And that's another thing I've learned. To move on. Let go and move on from it. Because all it's doing is giving them power over you.
Yep.
And you're not able to have any growth.
Nope.
In your life. And you're just like stuck and stagnant in that same emotion, in the same place. And then what are you doing now?
And sometimes that's the lesson within itself.
Yep.
Right.
That's the lesson within itself.
And you got to find those trends. You got to find those trends. It's like, why does this keep happening? Okay, try something different.
Yes.
Change. Try something different, and you'll get a different result.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The same result. It's obviously something that you're doing that you're attracted.
Exactly.
That is, and that's not to say that you're a bad person or anything like that, but it's just that, like you said, you're doing something and you're moving in a way, in such a way that you need to switch things up, change it up a little bit. And that's what I mean when I say get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
And I definitely have put myself in some uncomfortable positions because, it's unfamiliar. Yeah, I'm not used to anything like that. But in the same sense, like, I've already tried everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? That's why a lot of people don't do the inner work, or they stop before they truly have their breakthrough.
Because it's too hard.
Because it takes you to be uncomfortable. But it's just like, it's like a door. You're afraid to open this door out of fear of whatever happened in your past. But as soon as you open that door, it's a beautiful life on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So
open it and walk through.
Exactly. You got to walk through it too. You can't just open it and let it, like, you see it, but you got to walk through it. And so that's why a lot of people, they don't want to bring up old situations of what happened to them in the past, because it's hurtful. But one of my favorite sayings is the only way out is to go through it. You have to go through it. You've already been through. Sometimes it takes you going and reliving those moments so you could parent that inner child that needed the person at the time. Because for me, I realized that me journaling, I had to go and reparent and become the person that I needed.
Right.
I had to do that. And it took me putting out all my emotions on paper. And I'm talking about even to the point where people that I never thought that I would have forgiven for certain things that were so painful to me, I was able to write it on paper. And I was able to, it was almost as if it was a release after I finished writing, because I was able to get those emotions out. A lot of people, they'll take in that pain, not realizing that when you hold on to that pain and you don't cry out, however, you try to find some type of way, it's energy. We're all energy. You can walk into a room and feel when a person is sad or there's been animosity, it's all energy. So if you're holding on to that, that now creates physical pain within yourself. It creates physical illness.
It literally makes you sick.
Yes, literally it does.
What do you think?
Well, for me, it made me become more introverted. I guess because my voice was silenced for so long, and trying to figure out again, being a young wife and mother, and then
just reconnecting.
Okay. So being a young wife and mother, and then ended up being a single mother with children, trying to figure things out, I became more introverted. Until this day, I'm still an introvert, but I am in little ways coming out and speaking, and not so much shielding my voice, but actually speaking and trying to help others do the same thing. And that's why it was so important for me to create my podcast, Evolving with Yapah Judah.
I was about to say, look at an introvert with a podcast. Come on. Introvert with a podcast.
So, yes, we're going to stop here. But if this has truly caught your ears, then please come back for more of the conversation, A Woman's Voice. It's your girl, Yapah Judah, and with much gratitude, I send love your way. La, da, 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 da. I'll talk to you soon. Peace and blessings.